In my previous life, my best friend and I both married our redemption projects. She redeemed a good-for-nothing troublemaker, personally elevating him to become a top-tier film star. I, on the other hand, paved the way for a poor, aloof school heartthrob, dedicating all my efforts to push him to the pinnacle of the business world. But later, when faced with a kidnapper's knife, both men unhesitatingly chose their childhood sweetheart. The man who could overturn the clouds and reign in the business world gently held the girl, looking at me with hatred in his eyes. If it weren't for you relying on your family background to press me step by step, how could I marry a woman like you? In my eyes, everything I have now, every bit of it, is a humiliation you forced upon me. The film emperor also looked at my best friend with a face full of malice. If I weren't afraid you'd harm Lila, how could I have tolerated you until now? Letting you trample on my self-respect with your filthy money. So it was, we thought we had given our all, yet it became, in their words, the humiliation they had to endure to protect true love. Together, we were reborn and returned to the day the future film emperor was cornered in the alley. My best friend and I turned and walked away. This lifetime, we no longer force others to do what they cannot. 1. Hearing the sounds of a fight coming from the alley entrance. Nina Yi and I only exchanged a glance. We both chose to turn away at the same time, but was stopped by the person rushing over. Hey, why aren't you saving them? Lila Lu brushed past me, looking at Nina Yi with righteous indignation. Classmate Yi, we're all from the same school. How can you be so heartless? I stopped and looked coldly back at Lila Lu. If you're so worried, why don't you save him yourself? Lila Lu choked on her words, glanced at Asha Jiang who was gradually losing the upper hand, and with a worried expression, made a move to run over. Asha, if she won't save you, I will. She said it, but her feet seemed nailed to the ground, unmoving. The next second, Asha Jiang, pinned to the floor, suddenly looked up and shouted at her anxiously, Lila, don't come over, you'll get hurt. Lila Lu immediately stopped in her tracks. A few thugs raised their eyebrows and clicked their tongues, then picked up their sticks and were about to strike Asha Jiang. Seeing this, Lila Lu ran over again and grabbed Nina Yi's hand, her voice trembling with tears. Nina Yi, haven't you always been the most righteous? Hurry and help Asha Jiang. If you don't go soon, his hand is going to be broken. Nina Yi shook off Lila Lu, her willow-like eyebrows furrowed in anger, but before she could speak, Asha Jiang suddenly looked up, glaring at her fiercely. Nina Yi, don't think that just because you saved me, you can control me. I will never be coerced by you again, no. I should say, I would rather cut off my own hands than be saved by someone like you. One sentence made both Nina Yi and me turn cold with anger. In my past life, seeing her schoolmate being cornered, Nina Yi rushed in with a surge of adrenaline. In the chaos, she took a hard blow meant for Asha Jiang. Her hand instantly broken, and from then on, she could never again touch the piano she loved so dearly. And this, in Asha Jiang's eyes, it was never an act of kindness, but a carefully calculated coercion. Fortunately this time, Nina Yi and I had no intention of intervening. In the alley, as if to match Asha Jiang's defiant statement, the Thugs Club came crashing down hard. With a scream of agony, both of Asha Jiang's hands were broken. After delivering the lesson, the thugs swaggered away. Lila Lu finally dared to scream and run over, crying as she helped Asha Jiang up. Asha, how are you? Are you okay? I couldn't be bothered to watch any longer. I turned and walked back directly with Nina Yi, but I bumped straight into a tall, slender figure. After seeing that face clearly, I froze for a moment, unexpectedly. This lifetime, we had met earlier than expected. Ji Chenju, my husband from my previous life, too. Ji Chenju was wearing a faded, washed-out shirt. He glanced at Asha Jiang, whose face was full of agony. When he turned to me, his eyes were filled with disappointment. Meng Nanshi, he frowned, his voice cold. I thought you were just a bit of a spoiled young lady, but today I realized how vicious you are. You could stand by and watch even when a fellow student from the same school was being beaten. He glanced at Nina Yi, his voice dropping even lower. You even stopped your friend from helping. I had just opened my mouth. But Nina Yi couldn't take it anymore. She stepped in front of me, unleashing her full fury. You're a grown man, and your own brother is being cornered. Why aren't you helping? When those thugs were here earlier, I didn't see you step in to stop them. Now that they're gone, you jump out to criticize and give orders. Have you no shame? Oh, and by the way, you heard it, right? Your brother got beaten up because he refused to pay back the money he owes. Since you're such a loyal and righteous school heartthrob, why don't you use your poverty-stricken student allowance to pay off his debt for him? Stop acting so high and mighty, she spoke rapidly, leaving Ji Chunjo's face alternating between pale and flushed. After saying this, she grabbed my hand and pulled me away. Ji Chenju pursed his lips tightly, as if wanting to catch up and say something, but Asher Jiang, who had finally made his way over with Lila Lu's support, interrupted him. Chenju, there's no need to argue with people like this. One day, they will regret it. Despite being in so much pain that cold sweat was pouring down, he still gritted his teeth and spoke coldly. Yes. Brother Asher Jiang is going to be a film emperor in the future. Lila Lu nodded vigorously, playfully shaking her little fist towards the backs of Nina Yi and me. What's so great about having money? Does having money mean you can disregard your classmates' lives? They have nothing but a few stinky coins. After saying this, she ran up to Ji Chenju, looked up at him with a face full of admiration, and said, Brother Chenju, I heard you submitted your application and are about to become Professor Chen's first and only disciple in 10 years. In the future, who in the business world wouldn't treat you with the utmost respect? Those young ladies who only rely on their families will never understand what this truly means. Ji Chunjo's expression softened slightly. He let out a soft and affectionately ruffled her hair. He regained his calm and composed demeanor, his gaze sweeping over me indifferently. It just so happened to meet my subtle glance. He paused for a moment. A long while later, as if suddenly remembering something, he abruptly pulled Lila Lu behind him to shield her, staring at me with a dark expression, and said, Some people have long had nothing to do with me. I will never let her use past affection as an excuse to cause Lila even the slightest bit of trouble. I paused in my steps. It's rather ridiculous. Is this misunderstanding me? Thinking I'm targeting his little sweetheart, he actually thinks I would still revolve around him like in my past life, and thus take it out on Lila Lu. I look at him. I was just reminded by their words. Professor Chen. He is my father's friend despite their age difference. In my past life, I learned in advance from my father that Ji Chunjo's application was suppressed and never reached the professor. I begged my father for 3 whole months to intercede on my behalf. Only then did the stubborn Professor Chen relent and exceptionally accept him as a student, despite his average talent, and to protect Ji Chunjo's pitiful and pathetic self-esteem, I never brought it up. I thought he would have some idea. Never expected. He truly believed that all of this was entirely due to his own efforts. At that very moment, Asher Jiang also limped forward, blocking Lila Lu, glaring fiercely at Nina Yi. Speaking to the girl behind, Don't be afraid, Lila. From now on, I will no longer be threatened or manipulated by anyone. This time, I will protect you and accompany you as you grow up safely. 3. Until the car door closed, Nina Yi finally snapped out of it. She shivered with a chill, looking at me with grievance, and said, 11:11. Could it be that we were cursed before? I recall the various crazy things I did in my past life in pursuit of Ji Chenju. Nodding in deep agreement, silence all the way. As the car approached the Yi family's house, Nina Yi suddenly asked, What do you plan to do? I was taken aback for a moment, then quickly realized she was asking about my opinion of those 2 men. I leaned back in my chair and spoke softly. Do nothing. What? Nina Yi instantly sat up straight, clenching her fists. But if we don't teach them a lesson, I really can't swallow this anger. I looked out the window and said softly, Let them first fight among themselves and suffer the consequences, then deliver a heavy blow in the end. Isn't that better? Obviously, those 2 men still arrogantly believe that their achievements were earned solely through their own efforts, regardless of the connections we provided or the substantial funds we invested. It has nothing to do with us. Then let them find their own way. Let's see if their proud talents can bring them back to the top. Nina Yi raised an eyebrow. Not bad either. She leaned back in her chair, relaxing. Graduation is coming soon. What are your plans? Without waiting for my answer, she let out a light laugh. I almost forgot, you're the only daughter of the richest man. What's there to plan? The entire Meng family is yours. I glanced at her speechlessly. What about you? What else? A marriage of convenience, she smiled, a bit nonchalantly. The old man called today and said the Shu family's youngest grandson is coming back to the country. You know, that artsy trust fund kid, he wants me to meet him. But whatever, my brother treats me well anyway, so it's not like I'll end up losing out. The words had barely left his lips, she suddenly slapped her thigh, startling me. But before that, I need to let loose completely, for, however, plans can't keep up with changes. After more than a dozen consecutive parties, Nina Yi had an acute appendicitis attack. I rushed her to the hospital overnight. I got her admitted to the hospital. Then I took her paperwork and hurried to the payment window. I had just taken out the black card when someone suddenly grabbed my hand tightly. The grip was so strong that I gasped in pain. Meng Nanshi, a man's voice, filled with suppressed anger, came from beside my ear. I told you long ago. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Take your filthy money and get out. Only then did I notice. The person standing beside me was actually Ji Chenju. At that moment, he looked exhausted. His eyes filled with deep weariness, a far cry from the school heartthrob he used to be. I pushed his hand away and frowned. Are you crazy? Is it any of your business if I pay the medical bills? Do you just never understand what people are saying? His brows furrowed even deeper as he stared at me. His angry words almost gritted through his teeth. Yes, I do need money right now, but even if you help me today, I won't be grateful. And I certainly won't bow and scrape to you or let you humiliate me over a mere million in medical fees. Looking at him, he seemed as if he had suffered a great humiliation. I was slightly taken aback. Then I remembered. So, it was around this time that my uncle's condition worsened, in my past life. Upon hearing about the Ji family situation, I didn't hesitate to transfer 2 million to Ji Chenju to ease his worries. At that moment, with red-rimmed eyes, he held me tightly and vowed that he would do everything in his power to treat me well and protect me for the rest of his life. I snapped back to reality, my expression turning strange. To be honest, if it weren't for our chance encounter today, I had long forgotten about this. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. So I stepped around him and handed the card through the window. Hello, I'd like to pay the fee. Ji Chenju, however, followed me closely. His tone full of annoyance as he looked down, though he didn't try to stop me again. What's the point of being so persistent? I told you, I don't need you. Is Nina Yi's family here? The medicine is ready. The nurse's voice interrupted his unfinished accusation. I quickly responded. Took the payment slip and the medicine. Without even looking at him, she turned and walked towards the ward. Behind, it was Ji Chenju, frozen in place, a figure of embarrassment. 3 days later, I accompanied Nina Yi to complete the discharge procedures. As we passed by a noisy general ward, I instinctively glanced inside. I saw Ji Chenju standing there and Asha Jiang, whose hands were still wrapped in bandages. I immediately realized this was probably Mr. Ji's hospital room. I quickly grabbed Nina Yi's hand and tried to leave in a hurry. Coincidentally, Asha Jiang inside also happened to see us. His expression changed. He actually strode out of the hospital room, blocked Nina Yi's path, raised his eyebrows and said, Nina Yi, you came to the hospital to find me. Are you regretting it now? His eyes instantly filled with disgust. A woman as opportunistic and cold-blooded as you, even if you kneel before me begging for forgiveness, I would only find it repulsive. In any case, I will never forgive you in this lifetime. Nina Yi was momentarily stunned by his sudden, harsh scolding. She was stunned for a long moment before she found her voice again. Are you okay? Am I that close to you that I need your forgiveness? Asha Jiang let out a cold laugh and turned his back on her, as if he were still the untouchable film emperor he once was. Nina Yi, remember what you said today. In the future, even if you bring the most elite film script to me and beg me with tears to act in it, I won't even give it a second glance. Nina Yi looked incredulous and was about to retort. Suddenly, a pitiful male voice came from behind her. Baby, who do you want to give my movie script to? Nina Yi turned around and froze. I turned my head to look. I saw the handsome man who had appeared beside Nina Yi at some point. I was also taken aback. Shu Sai, Nina Yi just signed a newly debuted young actor. She has been getting very close with him recently. Nina Yi quickly turned her head and lowered her voice. Weren't you filming abroad? Why did you suddenly come back? Shu Sai looked at her with a deep, meaningful gaze. My girlfriend is sick and in the hospital. Of course I had to rush back overnight. If I hadn't asked Sister Meng myself, were you even planning to tell me? He glanced at the stunned Asha Jiang, his tone dripping with jealousy. It seems like when I'm not around, there are plenty of handsome guys hovering near you. Nina Yi awkwardly touched her nose. Don't talk nonsense. Nothing like that happened. Asha Jiang, who had finally regained his composure, let out a cold laugh at the sight of the two being so lovey-dovey. Nina Yi, are you so unable to bear the loneliness that you've already found someone else? He stepped forward, intending to grab Nina Yi's hand, but he was firmly held back by the taller Shu Sai. As luck would have it, he grabbed right on the bandaged wound. Asha Jiang stiffened in pain all over. Shu Sai shook him off, as if just noticing his injury, and blinked his beautiful peach blossom eyes innocently. Oh, so you're injured. Since you're this weak, senior, you should focus on recovering properly instead of pestering a married woman. He no longer paid attention to Asha Jiang, who had a dark expression on his face. Instead, he turned his gaze to Nina Yi, who was avoiding eye contact. Baby, let's have a proper talk. In the 3 days I was abroad, how many new lovers did you actually find? He forcefully pulled Nina Yi into his arms and half dragged her away. I quickly averted my gaze, pretending not to see Nina Yi's pleading look, and beside me, Asha Jiang was still standing there, staring blankly in the direction they had left. He seemed unable to accept that Nina Yi had truly ignored him like that, until her figure completely disappeared. Lila Lu in the hospital room came over and asked him, Asha Jiang, who are you talking to? Asha Jiang actually didn't respond either. He gave me one last look, turned around. His expression was unreadable. TSK. I suddenly felt bored. Messiah was also preparing to leave, but then, Ji Chenju, who had just come out, called out to stop him. Meng Nanshi. He pursed his lips, looking as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. I turned my head away and started walking, not wanting to respond at all. He lifted his foot, wanting to chase after me. He was stopped by Lila Lu, who had run out. Chenju, Uncle Ji has woken up. Ji Chenju's footsteps halted. In the end, he helplessly returned to the ward. 6. After that day, I didn't see Ji Chenju again for a long time. Graduation is approaching. I began to learn how to take over part of the family business. In the past, I indulged in pleasure and had no interest in the family business, which later led to the vast Meng family almost becoming Ji Chenju's possession, reborn in a new life. I understand better than anyone that placing hope and resources in others is the most dangerous thing in the world. At first, my dad heard me take the initiative to propose learning in the company. He was so moved that tears streamed down his aged face. That very day, he rushed to my mother's grave, crying uncontrollably with tears and mucus flowing. Honey, do you see this? Our daughter has grown up and become sensible. 1111 takes after you in personality. In the future, she will surely carry on and expand the family legacy you worked so hard to build back in the day. Our Meng family has a worthy successor now. I was speechless. As for Nina Yi, she was busy being passionately in love with Shu Sai. In her own words, she wanted to seize the last stretch of wild, carefree time before the cold, calculated arranged marriage arrived. She invested in scripts for him, spent money on marketing, and pushed him into the spotlight. Such a grand, cost-no-object effort even had a hint of the way she had once supported Asha Jiang to the top as a film emperor. I asked her. She smiled dismissively. Don't worry, 1111. I'm not stupid. Not only is he better looking than Asha Jiang, but he's also sweet-tongued and knows how to cheer me up. Plus, he's grateful. Every penny I spend on him gives me 10 times the emotional return. I'm spending my money to buy happiness. After hearing that, I didn't try to stop her anymore. Nina Yi is clear about her likes and dislikes, and she's free-spirited. Being able to say these words probably means she has come out from the shadows of the past and knows what she wants now. I naturally wouldn't spoil her mood. As long as she's happy, that's all that matters. The call ended. I shook my head and picked up the documents on the table again. Just then, the secretary knocked and entered, quietly reminding me that the meeting was about to start. I nodded and grabbed my coat. Let's go. As I walked out of the office, I passed by the reception area near the elevator. There were quite a few people sitting inside in small groups. The one in the center stood out particularly. It was Ji Chenju. He was dressed in formal attire, with an upright posture, and his appearance was especially striking among the crowd. Beside him sat Lila Lu, looking curious and glancing around. Seeing me keep looking inside, the secretary, quick on the uptake, came over to explain. Assistant Manager Meng. These are the interns from this year's campus recruitment undergoing interviews. Do you know someone among them? Would you like me to have a word with the HR department? No need, just follow the standard procedure. I calmly averted my gaze. I walked straight into the elevator. 7. As soon as I stepped out of the meeting, my phone started vibrating wildly. I frowned. I don't need to look to know it's the old man's message bombardment. Probably talking about the Shi family matter again. He's been nagging about it every day recently. Pulled out my phone, and sure enough, 11:11. The cooperation with the Shi family is of utmost importance to the Meng family. The young master of the Shi family has come to Haisha, so you need to put in some effort, spend more time with him. I've already reserved a restaurant for you. Go and treat him to a meal. The Shi family, a wealthy and influential family that holds immense power in Hong Kong. Recently, they seem to have intentions of expanding their business into mainland China. I rubbed my temples and put away my phone, just stepped out of the elevator. A puzzled female voice sounded. Meng Nanshi, what are you doing here? I turned my head to look. Lila Lu also came out of the adjacent elevator, arm in arm with Ji Chenju. I glanced at their intertwined hands. Something wrong. Ji Chenju seemed a bit uncomfortable under my gaze. He exerted a little force and broke free from Lila Lu. Lila Lu was pushed away, pouting unhappily, but she didn't say anything. She then turned to me with a smile. Miss Meng, you wouldn't happen to be here for the Nan Corporation intern interview, would you? Seeing that I remained silent, she thought she had guessed right. Covering her mouth in surprise, she said, No way, this is Nan Corporation, the rising star in the tech industry. Everyone knows that Nan Corporation never cares about academic background. They prioritize ability above all. Their selection process is the fairest. Even if you were the daughter of the richest person in this city, they would absolutely never make an exception for you. I just kept silently watching her. And feeling uncomfortable under my gaze, she became a bit annoyed. Am I wrong? Or are you trying to say you passed the interview? Ji Chenju, who had been silent all along, suddenly furrowed his brows, staring at me as if lost in thought. So what if I did? I casually replied and was about to leave, but Lila Lu wouldn't let it go, screaming hysterically. How is that possible? Brother Chenju, such a prodigy, didn't even pass the interview. How could you? A good-for-nothing young lady who only knows how to have fun, possibly make it. Ji Chenju also glared at me darkly. He couldn't seem to understand why, with the same performance, he didn't pass this time. But I could. He had always prided himself on being extraordinary, convinced that I was just a superficial, empty-headed young lady. I let out a cold laugh. What's it to you? You? Lila Lu's face turned red with anger. Ji Chenju finally couldn't hold back any longer and spoke calmly. Meng Nanshi, you don't have such ability. Don't lie just to show off. It's meaningless. His tone was firm. I walked around them, not wanting to waste any more words. Ji Chenju, however, frowned and tried to grab me. Meng. Before he could finish, the elevator doors opened. The secretary rushed out from inside, holding a stack of documents, and came up to me. Little President Meng, you forgot your contract. 8. Little President Meng. Ji Chenju was momentarily stunned and murmured under his breath. Then, as if scalded by something, the outstretched hand abruptly withdrew. His expression was one of shock. He had not expected it and was also astonished. Nan Corporation was the first place where he made a name for himself in the business world in his previous life. He had never known that the Nan family and the Meng family were one and the same, after all. The Meng family primarily focused on equipment manufacturing and had no connection to the Nan family in terms of their industrial layout. Nan family, it was a technology company independently founded by my mother, who took the Nan from my name to name it. Apart from a few individuals in the industry, most are unaware of the relationship between the Meng family and the Nan family. In the past, to avoid making Ji Chenju overthink, I never mentioned the Nan family on my own initiative, so he knew nothing about it. I seized the opportunity to take the documents and quickly walked out. Behind, Ji Chenju snapped out of his shock and chased after her unwillingly, his usually calm face now showing a hint of helplessness. So the Nan family is you. He didn't get to finish his sentence. A black business car charged straight toward him, forcing him to a stop. The car door opened, a cold and noble man stepped out from inside. His gaze swept over Ji Chenju's pale face. He turned his head slightly, looked at me, and said in a low voice, "Meng Nanshi." I recognized him. The current head of the Shi family, Shi Shaoan, is also the person my dad has been talking about non-stop for days. He made a gesture of invitation. "Uncle Meng specifically asked me to pick you up." I nodded without glancing back at the person behind me. The vehicle drove away smoothly. In the rearview mirror, Ji Chenju stood rigidly in place. No matter how Lila Lu shouted beside him, there was no reaction at all. He still stared blankly in the direction I had gone. 9. The meal with Shi Shaoan was very comfortable. Generally, it's about equal status and being on the same wavelength. There's no need to rack your brains for conversation topics. Nor do you need to tread carefully, worrying about hurting the other person's sensitive and fragile self-esteem. For a period after that, the collaboration process between the Shi and Meng families' projects has accelerated. Shi Shaoan often invites me for discussions. On the day he came to pick me up, I received a call from Nina Yi. 11:11. I broke up. My heart skipped a beat. Her voice still carried a laugh. The Shu family's young master has returned to the country, and my father issued an ultimatum, insisting that I go meet him. After all this time of fooling around, it's time to put an end to it. She sniffled, seeming a bit upset. I froze for a moment. It's clear that Nina Yi really likes Shu Sai, but in the end, this bit of affection isn't enough to carry much weight. She no longer has the will to risk everything and go against her family. On the other end of the phone, she coquettishly said, 11:11, come with me. I hesitated and glanced at Shi Shaoan. He was also looking at me. We were close. And the microphone wasn't quiet, so he faintly heard a bit. I'll take you. He turned around directly. I nodded without refusing. Nina Yi's location wasn't far, less than 20 minutes. I arrived. After getting out of the car and walking into the restaurant, Nina Yi was already there. She leaned in to link arms with me, grinning cheerfully. Why do you have such a stern face? It doesn't look like you're here to accompany me on a blind date. More like you're here to pick a fight. That's when I realized, my expression was so unpleasant. I forced a slight smile and was just about to speak. She waved her hand dismissively and pushed open the private room door. Relax, an arranged marriage is actually pretty good. It's a perfect match in terms of social status. I'm just a bit sad that I won't be able to fool around freely anymore. Darling, you just broke up with me this morning, and now you're already thinking about how to fool around tonight. A man's sinister voice interrupted her. Nina Yi and I were both stunned at the same time. The person who spoke was none other than Shu Sai. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. Shu Sai, the Shu family. A sudden thought flashed through my mind. So the second-generation heir of the Shu family, who has been abroad for years pursuing art, is actually Shu Sai. Nina Yi also realized it at that moment. She let out a scream and tried to rush out the door, but Shu Sai held the door shut, picked her up by the waist, and stopped her. He politely smiled at me. Sister Meng, we need to settle some family matters. Feel free to order whatever dishes you like, just put it on my tab. He lifted Nina Yi over his shoulder and strode out. From afar, I can still hear Nina Yi's fiery curses. Shu Sai, you bastard. Pretending to be some innocent pretty boy. It's one thing to play with my feelings, but how dare you scam me out of my money too? Let me down. And Shu Sai's doting apologies. I shook my head in amusement, just stepping out of the private room and about to leave, but then I ran into a group of people coming from the opposite direction. Among them was Ji Chenju, 10. He followed beside a middle-aged man with an ingratiating smile, carrying the other's briefcase in his hand. He clearly saw me too. In that instant, his fawning smile froze. His back instantly straightened, as if the humility from moments ago was my illusion. I raised an eyebrow. After graduation, I never paid attention to Ji Chenju again. I did hear from former classmates, though, his application to join Professor Chen's research team was rejected. He wallowed in self-pity for a while, but he couldn't afford to remain despondent for long. His uncle's exorbitant medical expenses were all borrowed money, and the repayment interest was suffocating Ji Chenju. Later, I heard that he and a few senior classmates with capital had formed a small studio. It turned out to be doing quite well. That makes sense, even if Ji Chenju's abilities were average, but the vision I had cultivated in my previous life with resources and money was still a bit better than that of my peers. Isn't this young Master Meng, the leader? Boss Wang spotted me with his sharp eyes. He immediately came up to me with great enthusiasm. I gave a slight nod as a form of greeting. Boss Wang seemed to suddenly remember something, turned sideways, and patted Ji Chenju's shoulder firmly. President Meng, let me introduce you. This is Ji Chenju, who graduated from the same alma mater as you. The young man has a sharp eye and great ideas. Noticing Ji Chenju's silence, he nudged him and said, Xiao Ji, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and greet President Meng. Ji Chenju's lips tightened abruptly, with a hint of anger and embarrassment. In the past, it was always others chasing after him, treating him with utmost respect. Even I used to handle him with extreme care, and now, role reversal, to have him grovel before me, it is the ultimate humiliation. Seeing him still standing there, motionless, Boss Wang's expression darkened slightly. A senior from the same studio grew anxious and urged him, Chenju, what are you doing? Someone like young Master Meng is someone you usually can't even hope to get close to. Hurry up. Ji Chenju clenched and unclenched his fist. Finally resigning himself, he closed his eyes briefly and spoke with difficulty. President Meng. Only then did Boss Wang laugh heartily with satisfaction, bid me farewell, and head towards the private room. Ji Chenju was the last to leave. He stopped, turned around, and looked at me. His voice was lowered, his gaze icy cold. You see, even without you, I can still achieve great things. After saying that, he confidently strode away. I watched their retreating figures. He paused for a few extra seconds on that Boss Wang. Then, he chuckled softly, then turned and left. 11. On this day, film crew, I sat to the side, watching Nina Yi and Shu Sai being all lovey-dovey. Today, Nina Yi rushed into my house early in the morning. She dragged me out of bed, insisting I accompany her to visit Shu Sai's new film set. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I can't believe it even if you beat me to death. The usually fiery Miss Yi also has such a shy moment. I was feeling helpless. Suddenly, a loud noise came from not far away, followed by someone shouting, Are you blind? If you ruin this costume, can you even afford to pay for it as an extra? I looked over in confusion. I realized it was Asher Jiang, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. He's actually working as an extra in this production. It seems he hasn't given up on chasing his dream of becoming an actor. Unfortunately, it's difficult for him to replicate the path of his previous life. I twitched the corner of my mouth. In my past life, Asher Jiang debuted as a martial arts actor and eventually reached the pinnacle of his acting career. But now, with both his hands broken and treatment not followed up, he can't even lift heavy objects. The old path cannot be replicated. He has neither resources nor connections. His acting skills and looks are not top tier either. There was no choice but to start from the very bottom as an extra. There was no other option. Asher Jiang, feeling humiliated, looked up with resentment and happened to meet my gaze. He froze, embarrassed. He turned his head away, only to see Nina Yi and Shu Sai standing intimately beside me. His face instantly contorted. A trace of embarrassment flashed in his eyes. He almost fled as if running for his life. Afterwards, throughout the entire filming process, Asher Jiang secretly glanced at Nina Yi countless times. His eyes filled with hope and complexity. However, he was startled to discover the woman who had once cared for him in every possible way didn't even spare him a glance, just staring obsessively at Shu Sai, until the filming ended. As we were preparing to leave, Asher Jiang still mustered up the courage and chased after her. Nina Yi, our steps to get on the car paused. Nina Yi turned her head and, seeing it was him, wanted to close the door. Asher Jiang, however, rushed forward in a swift stride, pointing at Shu Sai, his tone filled with resentment. You spent money to invest in this pretty boy as the lead, going to such lengths to promote him, just to force me to submit, is that it? He took a deep breath, as if having made a great resolution, and said with a bitter smile, I admit, I've lost. I'm willing to return to your side, as long as you give me the male lead role in this drama. Nina Yi frowned deeply and was about to speak. Interrupted by the director who came running in a hurry, the director ran up to Shu Sai, his face beaming with an ingratiating smile. Young Master Shu, are you satisfied with today's shoot? As for the follow-up investment, when can we discuss it again? Shu Sai played with Nina Yi's hand and casually responded with an Asher Jiang was momentarily stunned, staring at the director in disbelief. Director, what did you say? What do you mean by young Master Shu? He raised his voice. His emotions somewhat out of control. You call this pretty boy young Master Shu? Shut up. The director's face turned pale as he slammed the script hard against his face. Shu Xiao is our investor, so watch your mouth and show some respect. Your pay is docked for today. If there's a next time, get out of the crew. Asher Jiang's face instantly flushed bright red. He felt utterly humiliated. At that moment, Shu Sai looked at Nina Yi with a wronged expression. Baby. Someone wants to freeload with an attitude, and even called me a pretty boy. Nina Yi quickly coaxed him into the car. She didn't even have time to glance back at the man with a disappointed expression. 12. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. I have officially taken over the Meng and Nan families. During this period, we have engaged in deep collaboration with the Shi family in the technology sector. The Nan family has been advancing triumphantly with unstoppable momentum. There was a faint sign of catching up with the Meng family. As for me and Shi Shaoan, we also became friends who could chat a few words. It was also at this time. I only then learned that he and Shu Sai had met while studying abroad, and the two were old friends. Now, the few of us often get together for small gatherings. At today's gathering, Nina Yi was scrolling through her phone and suddenly nudged me with her hand. There's a class reunion tonight. Are you going? I heard Jichen Ju and Lila Lu are together. She had a playful expression. Nina Yi said, Ji Chenju started his own company and seemed to have taken on quite a few projects from Boss Wang. His business was thriving. Lila Lu, who used to cling to Asher Jiang all the time, quickly turned and threw herself into Ji Chunzhou's arms. In this life, he also got the beauty and had no regrets, seeing Nina Yi looking like she wanted to go see the commotion. I smiled but didn't respond. What Ji Chenju was up to, I no longer cared. I just didn't expect it. I made up my mind not to join in the fun, but just as I was leaving, the two groups ran right into each other. I hadn't expected it. The college reunion was also scheduled at this club. It wasn't until I saw that the person organizing the gathering was Chen Xin, Ji Chunzhou's former roommate, that I stopped feeling surprised. His family is fairly well off and can afford the expenses here. Ji Chenju was surrounded by several old classmates, chatting and laughing animatedly. He was wearing a well-tailored suit, his eyes and brows brimming with confidence. He even faintly exuded the aura he once had as the president of the Meng Corporation. Lila Lu proudly linked arms with him. Our two groups suddenly ran into each other. We were both caught a bit off guard. Chen Xin was the first to react. He joked with a smile. No wonder we couldn't get our general manager Meng and Miss Yi to come. Turns out they already had a date with someone special. His teasing gaze faltered upon meeting the cold stares of the two men behind us. He instinctively shrank back and nervously averted his eyes. He didn't dare speak again. Sheepishly, he motioned for the others to head toward the private room. I didn't speak with Nina Yi. As we passed by them, Lila Lu suddenly called out to me, Meng Nanshi. I told you long ago that Brother Chenju is amazing. Once the G group goes public soon, he'll be respected wherever he goes. She tightened her grip on Ji Chenju even more, her tone full of pride and triumph. You chose to miss out, so don't regret it later. Beside her, Ji Chenju glanced at me indifferently, the corner of his lips curling slightly. His aloof and self-important demeanor made it seem as though he would soon return to his former glory. Back to the high position where everyone would flatteringly call him President G, I stopped in my tracks and smiled faintly. Oh, congratulations then. As fellow alumni, when the two of you get married, we will definitely be there to celebrate. I ignored the sudden darkening in Ji Chenju's eyes, pulling back the furious Nina Yi, who was about to rush forward and argue, calmly left the scene. 13. The class reunion was just a minor episode. I quickly put it out of my mind. Getting back to the busy work, managing the Meng family with over 100 subsidiaries is no easy task, and Nina Yi, I once asked her if she really had no interest in the Yi family. She curled up on the sofa and waved her hand. The old man gave me 10% of the shares. My brother worked his butt off and only holds 13% on paper. I didn't say anything more. She lives freely, and that's quite good. Now, she and Shu Sai are in a sweet relationship. The Yi family knew that the two of them had gotten together early. Father Yi and brother Yi were also very satisfied. Those past events, whether it was about Ji Chenju, Ashijiang, so be it, all fade away as we move towards new lives. As Nina Yi said, when one is strong enough and the heart is full enough, who would bother to care about the life and death of ants? If it weren't for Ji Chenju's name suddenly appearing in the headlines, I had almost forgotten about this person. That day, the Meng and Shi families jointly acquired the land in the Eastern District. After the bidding meeting ended, on the way back, Shi Shaoan gave me a ride. A business news alert popped up on my phone. The main subject was none other than Ji Chenju. His company was exposed as being burdened with billions in debt, and he himself is facing a lawsuit. I casually glanced at it and was about to put down my phone. Nina Yi's voice message popped up. Did you see it? I raised an eyebrow. Amham, karma is a bitch. She laughed so loudly on the other end of the phone. I told you that you weren't the least bit angry at the class reunion. You were so calm it was almost unnatural. Did you already suspect something? I smiled faintly and explained calmly. Boss Wang's company has accumulated tens of billions in debt, and he's been looking for a fool to take over for a long time. And that fool, it's Ji Chenju. 14. As soon as I saw Boss Wang, I remembered that he was the potential partner that the Meng family's bidding department had screened out some time ago. At that time, passing by the bidding department, I vaguely overheard the person in charge angrily cursing. This person sold off several properties under their name and still has a pile of debts outside. They actually thought they could sneak in through the bidding process and have our Meng group fill their financial hole. Dream on. To be honest, such trivial matters, whether in my past life or this one, I never paid them any mind. Meng's bidding team standards are nearly, with them around, I am completely at ease. Ji Chenju naturally feels the same as I do. In the past, he served as a representative of Meng's. He only dealt with rigorously selected high-quality partners. Everywhere he went, he was treated with reverence. When had he ever needed to bother discerning such clumsy little tricks? He had no access to, nor any interest in, small business owners like Boss Wang. This time, without the Meng team to safeguard him, he easily fell into the carefully laid traps of others. And he has always been smug, deluding himself into thinking he could build a business empire on par with the Meng family with his limited abilities. He never thought about it. In terms of ability, he is quite mediocre. In terms of background, he has almost none. Why would anyone want to cooperate with him, let alone give him benefits, because he's naive enough? Or foolish enough? After hearing this, Nina Yi laughed even more wildly. What a double blessing. I was slightly surprised. She stopped laughing and calmly stated, Asher Jiang fell from the set, couldn't save his leg, and had it amputated. She paused and added, oh, it wasn't on Shu Sai's set, so we didn't have to pay compensation. Asher Jiang has had a very hard life. The days of being an extra on the film set were already filled with hardship. During that time, news of the impending engagement between the young lady of the Yi family and the young master of the Shu family spread. dominating the headlines. This greatly agitated him. He tried several times to pester Nina Yi, but he was driven away by her bodyguards before he could even see her face. Dragging his injured body back to the set, he still had to endure the attitude from a third-rate actor he wouldn't have even glanced at before, compared to his previous life. It was like heaven and earth. In his previous life, Asher Jiang was so glorious. Backed by the Yi family, the leader in the entertainment industry, he easily reached the top as a film emperor and never had to suffer such grievances. The immense disparity of being reborn and the long-suppressed resentment completely shattered his sanity. Asher Jiang erupted. He frantically shouted, "Who do you think you are? I'm an award-winning actor," and got into a physical altercation with the male lead. During the dispute, he actually picked up a sharp prop and stabbed it toward the actor. The person cleverly dodged it, but he couldn't stop his momentum and fell from a platform several meters high. His leg was pierced by steel bars on the ground, leading to amputation. He shouted that he wanted someone to rot in prison. However, the outcome was determined. The actor acted in self-defense, and Asher Jiang bears full responsibility. He will not only receive no compensation, but also faces a lawsuit from the other party for intentional injury. For the rest of his life, it's over. 15. The day the land in the East District was completed, a grand celebration banquet was held, primarily hosted by the Meng family. The attendees were all political and business elites, as well as industry leaders. This was not the first time I had taken the lead in organizing such a banquet. Now it's effortless. Midway, Nina Yi, who has been with me all along, really couldn't take it anymore. She greeted me. I slipped out to get some fresh air. I smiled but didn't stop her. She's never been able to stand these kinds of occasions. Yet these very occasions, for me, for the Meng family, and even for every guest who came, it was a social arena for maintaining relationships. Perhaps it might also be a chance to secure a few more projects. I turned around, ready to deal with the next wave of people, but I bumped right into the male server who was holding drinks and looked completely flustered. My gaze froze. This server was Ji Chenju. It had been a long time since we last met. He has dark circles under his eyes, looks much more haggard, and his uniform clearly doesn't fit him well, making him appear utterly destitute. He stared straight at me, emotions surging in his eyes. 11:11. I regret it. Clearly, we could have been better, we could have been happier, we could even have made up for the regret of not having children before. His eyes turned to hatred. It's all Lila Lu. That wretched woman, she kept crying and complaining, saying you bullied her, looked down on us poor people. I thought, you were toying with me just as she said, so I did, those foolish things. Only now have I realized it was all wrong. In this world, no one loves me more than you. After Ji Chunjo's company was set up, Lila Lu decisively took his last bit of money and ran off with someone else, without any regard for the friendship we had since childhood. So this is the pure white moonlight he held in his heart while enduring humiliation to be with me. I waited quietly for him to finish before speaking calmly. Classmate Ji, I don't understand why you always say such strange things to me, even if you are the famous school heartthrob and many girls like you. I curl my lips. As I recall, it seems we never actually knew each other, isn't that right? The color instantly drained from his face. His expression was filled with panic and confusion. He finally remembered. It seems in this lifetime, we truly never really knew each other. 16. In my past life, my acquaintance with him began when Nina Yi saved Asher Jiang. That was when we met at the hospital. I visited Nina Yi, while he came to visit his brother Asher Jiang. With his good looks and disguised personality, I was like under a spell and pursued him madly. But in this life, Nina Yi did not save Asher Jiang. How did we ever come to know each other, without that accident? One was just a poor student struggling to make ends meet. The other was the designated heir of the Meng group, two people worlds apart. There won't be the slightest connection. Realizing this bleak reality, he panicked and stepped back, stumbling and knocking over the dessert table. Wine glasses shattered noisily all over the floor. The manager in charge of the banquet ran over in panic. He was about to scold the staff member angrily, but then he realized he didn't recognize this staff member at all. Ji Chenju had sneaked in. The manager was even more shocked and furious. He summoned the bodyguards to have him taken to the police station. Throughout the entire process, Ji Chenju remained like a block of wood, offering no resistance and enduring the beatings and insults, just staring blankly in my direction. But I had already turned away, entered the crowd, smiling and clinking glasses with business partners as we conversed, from beginning to end, never once looked back. Take a look at him. The hopeful light in his eyes, completely extinguished. 17. After the banquet, Nina Yi and I are curled up on the terrace. Fortunately, we are lucky enough. She raised her glass and clinked it with mine. To us, for not wasting this life. I took a sip of wine, smiled slightly, and said nothing. She suddenly leaned close to me and blinked. Tell me, what's really going on between you and Shi Shaoan? I froze for a moment. Before I could answer, a car horn sounded outside the villa. We leaned in to look. 2 black Bentleys were parked side by side at the entrance of the courtyard. Shu Sai stood in front of the car. Shi Shaoan, wearing a long black coat, leaned lazily against the car door. Shu Sai waved to Nina Yi. Baby, didn't we agree to go to the mountaintop to see the stars? Nina Yi turned and ran downstairs. Coming. On the other side, Shi Shaoan lifted his head. In the night, his gaze at me was calm. Leaving, I froze for a moment, then he raised the corners of his lips. He also picked up his coat and followed. The night breeze was slightly cool, I think, at least, this lifetime. We are unwavering, redeemed myself, also waited for the starlight that rushed towards each other.